No, it was one of those games where it looked exactly the same first time I watched it on tape as it did in person, and then it looked exactly the same again.
What were the differences in that and Baylor, the way that those two games? I mean, were they similar? Or?
Yeah, I think those games were similar in that we got off to poor starts, and we didn't respond particularly well. I think when you get in those type of situations, and again, it's always an interaction of two teams. I think in both those situations, Baylor and Kansas, those guys came in with a high level of aggressiveness. They really played like they had nothing to lose. Really good teams to begin with. I told somebody, I said that was the number one team in the country, playing like the number one team in the country. And then on our end, just not handling it very well in terms of when things didn't go our way. We missed some makeable shots early, and we didn't handle it very well. You add in the dynamic of senior night, and as I said last night, I've seen it go both ways with senior night. I've seen a team be unbeatable on senior night because they kind of galvanize around what they got to do to send their seniors out the right way, and then I've seen the emotions and the psychology of it go the other way, and I think that affected us to some extent last night. But I don't know that it would have even mattered with the way that Kansas played.
Chuck, it seems like you're talking about the psychology in Norman, Spangler, Latin, they got in your guys' face, and kind of send a message. Baylor got in your guys' face a little bit. And you see what happens. I mean, you can't change these guys overnight, right? But how do you get them to stand up to the opponent?
Well, I think our guys have stood up at times. I think you got to give them some credit for that. The question is, how do you get them to do it consistently? Let's be honest. Look at the last 3-4 days. We beat Oklahoma on Saturday in a game that, because Oklahoma, I think, had won the last 5 in the series, it was really for our guys, put everyone else on the side for a second. For our players, it was a feeling of, we did it. We finally did it. We got them. And we're not talking about the Michael Jordan's Bulls, but we're talking about a really, really good Oklahoma team that, quite frankly, had our number. Over the past few years, Isaiah Taylor never won a game against those guys. And I was really concerned on Sunday with the way that I didn't know that we would be able to handle that level of success. I addressed it with the team. We really tried to get them in the right place, but I was unsuccessful in stemming that tide. In terms of it's important to respond to adversity, and we have to get better at that, as evidenced by the start of the Baylor game, the start of the Kansas game last night. But we also have to get better at responding when we do have success. And, that's a whole different dynamic. And I think that there's some things from the past that affect that as well.
When you said you tried to prepare them for handling the success of the OU win, what did you say to them?
Well, I went in there on Sunday. We watched some film, and those guys, I kind of went after them a little bit in terms of where I thought they were, and they looked at me like I had 3 eyeballs. You learn from the great coaches. Most of the great coaches, they go against the grain. So whatever you guys are writing, they say the opposite. And I think there's times to do that, and there's times not to. I think if you do that all the time, then people, kids are smart. They kind of understand, and they may turn it off. But this was an important day to do that, Sunday. And so I let those guys know I didn't think we were handling it very well. But with the quick turnaround, with a lot of people's families being in town, you had the 2 home games, so it was just a great time for people's friends and families to come. Plus, it was senior night, the second game. We didn't get where we needed to be as a team. Plus, like I said, I don't even know that it would have mattered with where Kansas was at last night because those guys were at a very high level.
When you talk about guys there's certain guys on this team that need to make a decision about what this team's going to be about the rest of the way.
Mm-hmm.
What does that decision look like? What exactly are you talking about?
It's a daily choice. I mean, it's just like any of the rest of us. It's you waking up deciding what you're going to be about as a writer or as a husband or whatever it is. I mean, it's a choice that we have to make. And I think one of the challenges when you go from being a 17, 18-year-old high school kid with very little to no accountability, or you're so talented that it doesn't really matter. You go from that to being a college kid, either in your freshman year or all the way through your senior year. One of the challenges is, how willing are you to take ownership over your own process for success? And in a team sport, there's a effect that we all have on each other, members of a team, particularly the members of the team that are out there on the court playing, and it's just how much you want to take accountability for that. And so that's been maybe the central theme, or one of 2 or 3 central themes this year, because as I've told you guys, when I got here, I listened a lot, everything was blamed on Coach Barnes, from the players, from the media, from fans. It was all, okay, there's a coaching change, so now everything. No, it's the same group of guys. This is the same team, same guys that were out there on the court. And so we have to, as a group, take ownership over what goes into winning. And I don't think it's as simple as saying we have or haven't done that. I think at times we have, and at times we haven't. So we have to get more consistent with it. And now as the season moves towards really the time where it's win or go home, that's one of the most important time. He's feeling a lot better today. So he has plantar fasciitis. I don't know if any of you guys have any experience with that. It's a bear of a thing, and it's one of those things that you could sideline him for a month and it would get better. But we obviously don't have the luxury of doing that. He doesn't want to do that, and he's had it for a while. For whatever reason, after the Oklahoma game, it really, really flared up bad. I mean, he was in a walking boot all of Sunday and most of yesterday. And so I don't know, and nobody knows, did he have one fall or landing that aggravated, or was it a cumulative effect? Because he wasn't feeling like particularly bad directly after the game. But Sunday morning, he texted me, and he's like, "Coach, I can't walk." But he's feeling a lot better today. I don't know what happened. I mean, I'm sure this is something that he's probably going to be dealing with for the rest of the season. But, fortunately, he's feeling a little bit better today, or a lot better today.
For some of the old men that have had it before, it tends to, and everybody's different, but it can be worse when you start activity and kind of gets better. Has he had that experience that kind of stopping and starting can be tough?
Yeah, I mean, he's just it's a really painful injury, and it's one of those things that you just got to kind of grit your teeth. And he's a tough kid, but you're talking about someone whose game is based on explosiveness and quick movements, and as of yesterday morning, he couldn't even really put weight on his heel. I mean, he's walking around on his toes on that leg. So, it's that time of year. Everybody's got guys that are banged up. You just got to find a way to manage it. And, the other thing is you got to find a way as a player to somehow not allow, yourself feeling less than 100% to impact your mindset and how you approach the game, how you approach being a leader, how you approach the game plan, your teammates, leadership. And that's not easy, but you got to do it.
Is it worth holding him out of practice now?
Well, we held him out on Sunday. It'll really be a day-to-day decision. That's the hard thing for me about this time of year is, clearly you play a game like last night and you're like, we got to get better. We got to practice. We got to get in there and we got to play one-on-one defense and we got to work on the defensive rotations and ball screen defense. Well, you also don't want to cut off your nose to spite your face and have the guys not really be physically ready as they can be for the Oklahoma State game. So that's something that I'll kind of have to figure out over the next few days is how to strike the balance between those two things. I know, some of the guys that I worked for when I was an assistant would completely annihilate these guys over the next few days in practice. Other guys I worked for would, take a more positive approach and, just kind of burn the tape, as they say. I'm somewhere in between.
How do
So
you,
it's not a given that he'll sit out Friday.
No, I would be amazed if he sits out Friday. Isaiah doesn't he lives for one thing, to play basketball. So, which I've encouraged him to understand. He's got a lot of other things going for him, but I was the same way when I was that age. He's not sitting out unless you cut his foot off or he just absolutely can't do it. Again, he's feeling a lot better today, so hopefully he can keep moving in that direction, and we're planning on him playing.
how do you, this time of year, you want your guys to be loose in the moment, but again, you're still coaching them and making
Yeah.
sure you have their attention. How do you get them to play loose in March?
Well, there's a simple and a complicated answer to that. The simple answer is you just try to get the guys to focus on each other and the plan and take some of the focus off of like, well, I have to do this or I have to make this shot. You can play with avoidance, and it's hard to be loose that way. But the reality is these games are meaningful. They're not, games that don't mean anything. So you have to be okay with that. And I think that's part of being a competitor. One of the things that I was a little bit disappointed in terms of us coming out of the Oklahoma game and going into last night was you got to want more. I mean, yeah, we had a great win against Oklahoma. Terrific. Congratulations. But you got to want more. You got, and that's something that as a program we're going to need to make progress in, some of it is a little bit of a makeup personality-wise that you either have or you don't have. But in terms of playing loose, I thought Kansas was a great example of that last night. You're talking about a team that #1 in the country. You could look at them and say, man, they got a lot to lose. But they played with nothing to lose. They played to have fun, and you watch their bench. They were so into it and extremely aggressive.
At VCU, you had a program that didn't have a long history of the type of success that you guys had, and it came pretty suddenly when it did come.
Yep.
How did those guys handle that success that maybe you can take and apply to these guys?
Well, one thing that we had at VCU, and we always had this, and they had this predating me, is we had nasty competitive guys. I mean, those guys were killers. And not everyone, but we had a critical mass of guys on our team like that. And so it's easy to look back and speak glowingly about the past, but those guys wanted more. I mean, they were competitors. Now, they had their faults and their challenges as well. But like the team we had that went to the Final Four, we went through a lot of adversity earlier in the year. But, you always knew that those guys wanted to go after it. And so there wasn't like, okay, we're satisfied because of this or because of that. I don't know for sure. Some we'll talk about today and moving forward. I do think a little bit in the back of some of our guys' minds, there's a little bit of like, we've done pretty good. You said it, but I mean, we've done pretty good. The media thought we were going to go to the NIT. When we lost Cam, this and that. So we got to battle that. We got to want more.
Do you have killers on this team?
Do we have killers? I mean, we've shown that in certain times, but we've not shown that at other times. Certainly didn't last night. Again, it's a makeup thing. It's something that you have inside of you, and I do think that competitiveness it's a central trait among all the best teams and the best players, and but it's one of those things that the best guys, they don't really turn it on and off. They have it, and we got to keep developing that.
Three last ones.
What's been the key for, you say the best players don't turn it on and off, but what's been the key for turning this team on and off in terms of that competitiveness this year?
Well, I was thinking about that this morning. I think that, as a coach, you try to create the dynamic that allows the guys to bring out all the best things in them. And obviously, we've got a lot of guys on our team that have a lot of good things that they've brought out at different times. Javon Felix, Prince Ebay, Connor Lambert, Isaiah, our young guys. So you just try to create that dynamic so that they can be their best. And I mean, let's be honest, if we play whoever it is we play and the majority of our guys are at their best, we have a really good chance to win. Last night, the opposite of that. To me, it comes down to this with our team or with the majority of teams. There has to be a humility level that we have to do the things that go into winning that we control. And understanding if we don't do those things, we are drastically reducing our chances of winning. So that's a humility level that you have to have. If you have that with the combination of confidence, because you got to have confidence too. If you don't have confidence, then that's a problem. But that combination to me that's what's perfect for allowing these guys to be their best, and that's what you try to create. Again, we beat Oklahoma, and because of human nature, there was a lack of humility that impacted us, and that's something that I have to do a better job of creating.
What is it about playing on the road that seems to bring out more of those traits in these guys?
Well, when you play on the road, I think there's this natural understanding that you got to be on edge. You have to. You're necessarily going to have to do some of the little things that go into winning. You have to be more scrappy. You have to be more, as we would say, grimy, because you don't have the comforts of home, and there's certain things that are just naturally against you. So, plus, road wins are harder to come by than home wins. I think everyone understands that, including our players. So, winning on the road is something that is really valuable. So, maybe it's. I said this all the time. I mean, I think this relates to every sport, every team, particularly at a place like Texas that has so much going for it. When winning the game and what goes into winning the game becomes more important than any individual agenda or anything else, and it's all that really matters, then that gives you a great chance to do so. And sometimes going on the road is a good recipe for that, because there's sometimes maybe less distractions than there might be when you're at home.
Coach, what?
Yeah, I knew you guys were going to ask that. Not much of an update. He has not seen the doctor since last time we talked. He will soon. He's doing more and more, but he's still not running or jumping. I'd say he's doing pretty much everything other than that. He really last night was like his target when he got hurt. He wanted to come back for senior night, and just in his mind, he really wanted to play. It's reasonable thinking for a senior on his senior night. So we're still hopeful. We're hopeful that we may get him back in the next week or two, but we don't know for sure. Hopefully we'll have a follow-up with the doctor real soon.
He was wearing regular dress shoes, not a boot. Is he completely out of the boot?
Not technically, but he can walk. He can put weight on it. Our trainer's doing a really good job, Leif Morris, of kind of taking it up to the line of what the doctor has made acceptable, but not crossing that line. But, yeah, I mean, he can walk around in his shoes.
Is there a sense that his conditioning will be a question when he finally?
Well, he's actually in great condition, just aerobic condition, but there's a difference between that and basketball condition. He's done a terrific job with our strength coach in terms of buying into what he's asked him to do and all that stuff. So, but yeah, he hasn't played basketball since I think the Stanford game was his last game. So I don't think he's going to be able to. If and when he does get clear, I don't think you're going to see him going out and playing 30 minutes.
Anthony, last one.
Coach, when you first got the job, Tony Romo was excited, pumped up for you.
Mm-hmm.
Felt you were the best hire, the best man. What was it like having him in the house last night, and did you get a chance to see your Wisconsin brethren there?
I didn't get a chance to. I knew he was there. Jason texted me. Jason Witten and Mike Morrell are really close, and Jason's been really supportive over the years. He's a great guy. So I knew that they were coming, but I didn't get a chance to say hello. I did get a chance to meet Roger Clemens before the game. He came in the locker room. That was something. But I wish we would have played better for those guys. I'm appreciative that they came and supported us, and I promise the next time they come, we'll find a way to be better. But great to have them there.
Thanks all.